Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. So, a couple of hours ago, PAI Capital released another statement regarding the proposed takeover of West Ham United. We're going to have a little discussion about it. I'm not going to lie, Gonzo. I sort of planned to do it. The statement came out, read it, and I thought, I'm not going to bother doing one because there's nothing really in there. And it sort of wound me up a little bit. The more I thought about it, the more I got wound up. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I do want to have a little moan about it because that is what it is. And I think in the first statement, you were a bit more disappointed than I was. While I was disappointed, I tried to remain impartial and optimistic and on the fence. And I'm somewhat struggling to now after this statement because they've somehow got it worse than the first one, which I thought was almost difficult to do, but I think they've almost achieved it. For a group that said they want to keep everything private, they're very noisy.
It's a comedy act, mate. It's a comedy act. I've tried to keep my powder dry. Obviously, I didn't believe it at the start. I was really cynical about it at the start. My disappointment. I feel sorry for the people that almost bought into it in many respects. I was cynical. I didn't believe it from the start. So my disappointment was that initial thing. Oh, someone wants to take over from West Ham. So you think, oh, great, someone rich, whatever, Abramovich type character. Then you look, and you know my views on takeovers and all the rest of it. Anyway, I look, that's a consortium to start off with, which consortiums, as I always say, consortiums are there because individually they don't have the money. Oh, crikey. I listened to it all, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. But I know there's a number of people, and I've actually heard people say it very, very recently, PAI Capital are the people to take over the club. And I've sort of heard that recently. And I feel sorry for them because I think even them will have read this down for, oh no, this is not what we want at all. Well, it's not what we want at all. But this is an exercise, what you're witnessing now. And bearing in mind, you just said that you weren't going to do a video because I didn't say anything, but the statement was 5 pages long. So 5 pages of saying nothing, but you managed to find something in there eventually. This is really, really difficult. And the one thing I would say about all of this is this is, when are we playing? Sunday? What's it today? Friday? Forget all the questions that I asked before. I would also suggest that these are people claiming to be West Ham fans, and you probably wouldn't do this on the Friday before our first game of the season. They're just stirring up the pot. I thought they have been for quite some time, and what's going on is they're lurching from one PR disaster to another. We said it after the last time. How are they pitching this? Their PR is atrocious, and then what sort of unfolded last night, and then this morning. I've sort of held back a little bit, haven't I? Let's be fair. It shows what an amateurish attitude, and I mean, it's to me, it's a joke.
I'm generally scratching my head at almost how bad they've got. If I never even considered the fact that I know the season's starting on Sunday. I sort of this morning thought I'll do this video, and then I'm going to park it. The PAI Capital stuff, I'm going to park it, and I'm going to look forward to Sunday. I'm going to enjoy Sunday, and I'll worry about this later on, kind of thing. But the fact that you said, why would a West Ham fan release this 2 days before the season starts, I think is a very valid point, actually, because it is a distraction. It is something that's sort of created to cause unrest at West Ham United. That is the intention. The intention is to put pressure on the board. And it's not working, actually. I think this has gone down really badly with the fan base as well, reading social media and stuff. And I think they messed up a little bit with how they released the statement too. Now, just for a bit of context, they put it on the West Ham Way's Patreon. Now, also, we've got Patreon. We've got nothing against Patreon itself. And this isn't a dig at West Ham Way or X and Dave. I get on well with both of them. And I had a little discussion with Dave last night. I think Dave agrees with me even. And the fact that he even said about the statement, he said, I'm not excited by it. So it made me worried a little bit because he'd obviously seen it last night to put it on his website. But the fact that they put it on a Patreon site, it was a bit strange. I just thought, well, that was a very weird move to do. I thought, why would you do that kind of thing? I still don't understand it now, but like I said, it's got nothing to do with West Ham Way, because if they'd contacted us and said, can you release this statement for us, I would have probably said yes, because it's a coup for
But not now, but not now you wouldn't, Geo. I'm not saying we would have an argument about it, but not now you wouldn't, because their credibility's gone. I think actually if And you're absolutely right. I think the thing to put it behind a patron paywall for something that's for them to decide to do this, for that's going to West Ham fans, is odd. It's an odd decision for them to do that. But it's their second odd decision. What's that second or third? I thought the whole thing with Tom Skinner on the internet was a really weird way to sort of release news. And I felt sorry for him because he got really dug out. And then you'll see that now that they've sort of offered, it's a poison chalice basically. So now they offered the poison chalice to Dave and X, and everyone jumped on them last night. And I think now if someone offered you, oh, do you want the latest PAI Capital? Say, no, you're right, thank you. Someone else can have that. We'll just laugh about it afterwards if that's okay.
But it was just I thought it was a PR on goal. I thought Tom Skinner thing, like I said, I felt sorry for Tom because he had access to information and got excited about it. And why wouldn't you? He's a West Ham fan, and if he gets a bit of news about a potential West Ham takeover, he's going to get excited. But I thought that was a bit of a PR on goal. And in the middle of that, they appointed Rio Ferdinand. I just thought that was a PR on goal as well. And then I've read the statement, it's another PR own goal as well. And the worst thing about this, and to be clear, this is a statement. This isn't an interview by David X. I've seen some people say it was a poor interview. It wasn't an interview. David X did not ask any questions. They got given this statement, said, can you put this out? So they did. But when I read it, I almost got bored reading the first page. There's 5 pages. I almost got bored reading the paragraph. And it's a bit like, do you know when if you're on a forum or the YouTube comments or you get a text message, if there's a lot of text, I don't read it, right? I think it's too long. I don't have the attention span. So when I clicked on the statement, immediately I was like, oh, bloody hell, it's going to take me a whole 3 minutes to read this. And how we read a paragraph, I thought, like, I almost started skimming it. And I mean, this is a statement about a potential takeover West Ham United. I should be like switched on, ready to go kind of thing. But I started skimming it vaguely, but I've gone over it since. The guy, the company, whoever wrote it, they wrote their own questions and ballsed up the answers. They wrote their own questions. Like, how have you got it wrong? They've not even been interrogated by anybody, and they've still managed, in my opinion, to screw it up, essentially. He contradicts himself. This guy proclaiming to be a West Ham United fan since 1986. Let's just assume he's telling the truth. Fair enough. But then he said he's never been to the bowling ground because he couldn't get tickets because of ticket touts. I mean, for a start, everyone knows that's rubbish, right? But let's just go with it. Just go with me for a minute, Gonzo, okay? That's what he said.
Excellent.
So he couldn't get tickets for any game at Upton Park because of ticket touts, all right? Go with it. But then he says West Ham struggled to fill Upton Park. But hang on a minute, you just told us you can't get tickets for the game because of touts. Now you're saying we didn't fill the stadium. And, do you know, to some extent, he is correct to some extent because there wasn't always full capacity at Upton Park. It wasn't always full. But to have a dig at the fan base, it's a really strange thing to do. To try and take over a club against the popularity of Sullivan and Gold should be easy PR.
Oh, yeah.
It should be easy and straightforward. He's managing to make Sullivan and Gold look good.
Look competent. I agree.
There's a PA war between Sullivan and PAI Capital. Sullivan is winning by saying nothing. If Sullivan can just keep his mouth shut, he is winning the PR battle, because this lot are so bad at it, they're scoring own goal after own goal, and it's almost beggars belief. I cannot understand how they continuously get things wrong, but I don't know. It's very underwhelming, that statement. It's more concerning than anything.
Well, I do worry that somebody also that takes pages and pages and pages to describe why they're a West Ham fan. And so there's an old saying, I doth think the lady protests too much, because we could tell each other in 20, 30 seconds why we're West Ham fans and so can everybody else watching this video. So it almost seems a little bit too much justification there. But yeah, so go on, elaborate on the on that particular part of it, that you were just saying about the Upton Park. What was that actually? That part of the statement?
Yeah, let me read that out. I've got it here, actually. I've got it here because that's the bit that I think's not gone down well on social media. A lot of fans, and rightly so, are very protective of the club. They are protective of the club. They're not necessarily protective of Sullivan and Gold and Brady understandably, but they're still protective of the football club. This is our football club that you are essentially having a little bit of a pop at. You're essentially having a small pop at the club and a small pop at the fan base by saying this. But he said the club cannot rely on its traditional fan base to fill a stadium capacity of 66,000 when it has barely filled a 35,000-seater venue in previous years. The club needs to appeal to a new audience, and what better opportunity could there be than the fantastically diverse young multicultural families who are moving into housing developments on and around the park. Amazing work that the London Legacy Development Corporation team has been doing at the Olympic Park is a fantastic opportunity for the club to develop.
Well, allow me, if I may,
yes,
if I may, rant quickly. Okay, right. Firstly, I'm someone that's. I think the stadium's a little bit too big for that. There's obviously a certain number of tourists on there, but I've actually been really impressed by the amount of fans that we have actually managed to get in there. So, if you'd have asked me at Upton Park, could we ever fill a 50,000-seater stadium? I'd have said, "Oh no way." But having seen us, sort of manage 45, 50,000 in a 60,000 seat stadium, I actually think 45, 50,000 may well be the perfect size stadium for West Ham. So I don't appreciate a mocking on that one. Secondly, what he's talking about is to attract new fans. Well, we've had plenty of that, thanks, mate. And this is why we've got London on the badge. And it doesn't go down well and it doesn't sit pretty, because what we don't want is it doesn't sit comfortably. What we don't particularly want is the history of the football club changed, tweaked, manufactured to try and attract a new audience. Basically, love me as I am in that sense. Don't love me as I am. Don't try and change me, and if you're going to come to West Ham, and then come to West Ham because you love West Ham and for all the things that we hold dear and true. And I'm aware of the irony that I say that sat here in a shirt with London on the badge, but there you go. I bought it a year later for 15 quid from the shop. So there you go. The other thing about attracting young families in the projects surrounding the stadium, has he been? Because I'll tell you something now. All of those
can't get tickets because they're touts.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why he hasn't been. Yeah, for sure. Young families, young working class families can't afford those houses and those flats around that stadium. Most of those houses and those flats around the stadium, vast majority of them, have been bought up by, ironically, Chinese and Middle Eastern consortiums, who then basically are running a massive buy-to-let scheme there, as I understand it. These are not affordable housing. All those flats popping up, those apartments popping up all around the stadium are not affordable to young working class families. They are just not. So I don't know where all this is coming from, that he's got some gooey-eyed idea that people that live around that stadium, some minimum wage workers who can somehow afford an 800 grand balcony apartment, right, are somehow coming down and walk into, he probably don't even know the name of it, to be honest with you, walk into the Olympic Dome to watch West Ham FC, as he calls them. I find it a joke, and I find it an insult, and I would mind less if they turned around and they actually said, here's a statement I wouldn't mind, but here's a statement that I think they probably should. But we've got a consortium of people. We're basically looking to invest money, other people's money, which is what's going on with that investment. We're looking to grow that investment so as we can create a dividend for the people that put money in. For us to do that, we're going to have to make the club better. We're going to have to make the club bigger. We don't understand an awful lot about West Ham, but we're going to learn, and we're certainly going to try and do a much better job than your current owners do. Just something a little bit like that. But honestly, this cut me open, and I bleed pie, mash and liquor routine. I've never actually been able to get down to Nathan's. It's wearing a little bit thin, I've got to be honest with you, and their choice of how they're trying to engage with West Ham fans is actually insulting. I use a phrase I've used many times. I think it actually takes a lot of people for fools. It is, I'm going to put this statement out there, you're going to believe it because you're stupid, and that's how it comes across to me.
Yeah, I think I'm taking this out of context, but that sentence at the very start of that paragraph I just read out, which is, we can't rely on the lifelong West Ham fans or something like that. We can't rely on the fan base. Like I said, I'm aware I'm taking that out of context because he's referring to filling up a 66,000-seater stadium. But actually, that's the fan base you need to rely on, because if we are in the Championship or wherever, that's the only people that will turn up. And I think it's dangerous to not want to rely on that fan base. That's who you need to get on side first and foremost, because they will be the ones that back you. They will be the ones that put the pressure on Gold, Sullivan and Brady, actually. And when you are making statements which are a little bit, it feels like he's just typed it up there and then not gone back and read over it again to make sure it makes sense or something. When you are doing stuff like that, actually that fan base that you need to convince is the fan base that you are actually pushing away a little bit. And while people don't like Gold, Sullivan and Brady, it doesn't have to be a choice of them or PAI Capital. There can be an alternative, which is we will wait for another buyer. Thank you very much. We want them gone, but not to you. You don't have, it's not a choice of Tesco or Asda. You can go elsewhere kind of thing. And I know that phrase, the better the devil you know, and they're almost making it seem like that phrase is the one that myself personally is going to cling to a little bit now, because a takeover of West Ham United should be exciting, and I'm far from excited right now. I am suspicious. I'm a skeptical person anyway, but I'm even more suspicious. Every time they open their mouth, I get a bit more worried, and it should be the opposite. Every time they open their mouth, I should get a bit more excited, a bit more convinced, a bit more, come on, let's get these boys in. It's quite the polar opposite. Every time they speak, I think, crikey, I hope this. The guy has said that they've been interested since February. They've had 2 months to look at the books and stuff. If he had looked at the books, he would have seen we've sold out on season tickets. He would have seen that we've sold 66,000 tickets every home match. Now, whether they turn up or not is a different case altogether. We know they don't. Through the Freedom of Information Act at the London Stadium, we know that approximately 10,000 fans don't turn up on average to every home game. But we still sell the tickets.
Get the money for it, yeah.
This guy that's negotiating for West Ham United couldn't even negotiate, by his own words, with a ticket tout to get into Upton Park. You know, he couldn't even haggle with a ticket tout outside the Upton Park tube station to get into watch us play Portsmouth. He's trying to use other people's money and buy a football club for over 500 million.
Well, let's be fair. It also sounds like he can't afford a season ticket or a ticket, because why is he using a bloody ticket tout anyway? Go and get club membership and that. You know, just go and get a ticket.
I'm going to click on this, because while we do batter Sullivan, Brady and Gold, understandably, the club itself do good work with the community. When he released the first statement, I sort of dismissed. I didn't really pick up on it a lot. And when he said about we need to do work with the community, I thought, well, actually, that's one thing the club actually do quite well, in my opinion. And Matthew said here, cheap season tickets for kids and OAPs, discount for games, free tickets for some in Newham, kids for a quid. We have been attracting more to the stadium. And I do think, to some extent, the tickets, West Ham always say, moving to London Stadium, we want affordable football. And you can dispute what affordable is. It's different to everybody. But we still do have the cheapest adult season ticket in the Premier League. We still have that. And I think Matthew's right. I think we have done some promotions and discounts. And yes, it is for the lesser games. It is for the second round of the League Cup. Whenever we play Macclesfield, we let the kids in for the quid and stuff. But anyway, it's just, I don't know, Gonzo. It's just a little bit.
No, it's really disappointing. Actually, I'm lying. I'm sorry, my glasses are crap. I'm not lying. I'm not even disappointed. I am lying. It's just, I'm not disappointed at all.
I am.
I'm not, because I've got to say, I don't say that with any smugness at all, because I didn't buy into it anyway. But I really feel, and I do, and I found it really hard, particularly in the last week, watching people and hearing people say, I want PAI Capital to take over our club. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought about the Birmingham City sale and Carsten Young, as you all know, obviously was a bad sale to sell for Golden Sullivan to sell Birmingham City at Carsten Young. He was in prison within a year for fraud, which should have hopefully been easy enough to ascertain before they sold the club. And then I went back at it and I looked at how much the Birmingham City fans were protesting. I looked at them, not quite as big as our fans shouting up at the director's box, but they had an incident themselves. And they really, really pushed it until they did get rid of them. And so I looked at it a little bit more, and actually Golden Sullivan initially rebuffed the first approach from Carsten Young, and I actually think, I might be wrong, and this is just my opinion, I think possibly they did sell up in the end because of pressure from the fans from Birmingham City, or maybe they knew that West Ham would come up at some point.
That's what David Gold's claiming. David Gold.
Oh, really?
That.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
David Gold said, to quote him roughly, we ran a poll, over 87% of fans wanted us gone, we sold.
Well, I remember it, and I think we spoke to Jack years ago, Jack Sullivan. I remember him explaining about the abuse that they were getting over in the director's box. So I think this happened in the end. They sold out. They thought, right, okay. So everyone was saying, the fans were saying, sell to Castor Young, sell to this guy. And in the end, I think they went, you know what, we're going to, this is not a pleasurable experience for us anymore. So, and I thought about that this week when people were saying, I want PAI Capital. They're right. We've got to put pressure on the board to sell. I thought, oh, this is familiar. Actually, this is familiar. And don't get me wrong. I think it was an excellent statement, by the way, from Hammers United this week, which is they have asked for David Sullivan to openly put the club up for sale. And I think I would like that. I would like that very, very much. But there's a difference. And also, Hammers United kept their powder dry on PAI Capital as well. By the way, they really did. They said, "Hold on, we want some questions answered. We need to see some more evidence," which is exactly the right thing to do for nailing your colours to the mast on this one. Because, let's be fair, people that have sort of almost aligned themselves with them, I would imagine they're regretting it now. I really do. I really do. Penny for Tom Skinner's thoughts on that. I wonder if he is looking at it now thinking, I just wish I'd never bothered. You know what I mean? I wish I'd just carried on and done my stuff and not basically broadcast to the world that these people are my mates, sort of thing. And so, yeah, Hammers United basically said we would like David Sullivan to openly put the club up for sale, but there is, or at least give a price or something. And I'd certainly agree with that. I'd certainly not turn down the opportunity, which is, he said, if someone rich comes in who can take the club forward, I'll sell up. Good. But just because we want him to sell up doesn't mean we want him to sell. Well, I personally speak myself, want him to sell to just anyone. And I do not want the club sold to these people. They do not, from what I've seen before, they've not shown me competency. They have not demonstrated that they have the money to do so. And I think a lot of their claims, particularly the one that, first of all, they were based in London and then this, that, and the other, and there are a load of West Ham fans. I think it's tenuous at best. And I do worry about how much. No, actually, I'm not going to say anymore. But yeah,
I'm. What you said about Hammers United, that was me. I didn't want to nail my colours to either mast. I wanted more from them, and we've got more from them. But I don't really feel like I've learned anything. If anything, what I have learned, or the vibe I've got from it is not really a good one. I'm not feeling any more enthusiastic for this at all. Quite the opposite. Do I have to, kind of thing. I'm doing my best to remain impartial, and I'm doing my best to wait and see, because we still haven't had proof of funds or anything like that. But then that's probably because they're refusing to give them, kind of thing. But my concern at the minute is they just contradict themselves. I'm fed up with Sullivan, Gold and Brady, and a large part of that is because I feel like we've been misled at best, lied to at worst. Okay, and I just feel that this lot are contradicting themselves. They told us, we don't want to say anything. We're going to keep our plans quiet because we're trying to buy the club. But here's a 5-page statement from us. Hang on, no one even asked for that. While we wanted more information, you're not giving us it. You just try to justify why this man is a West Ham fan, and in doing so, I think you've almost failed to do that. I think you made him to look like someone that's not a West Ham fan. I think he's almost stitched himself up a little bit. At the end of it, he's talking about how he wants to get the statue at London Stadium. I mean, what's that about? Buy the club and get things sorted. I don't think a statue is the number one on any West Ham fans list for getting things sorted. Even it's a statue of Hurst, Peters, and Moore. And
here's the problem. Here's the problem with this being a statement and not an interview. Which would be, I think straight away, if he would say that, I'd say, yeah, well, there's been a lot about that. So who's in the statue? Who's the statue of? Just tell us that.
Well, it's Moore, Hurst, and Peters. He's already said so.
Okay, if he said so, I would ask him that in an interview. I'd try and trip him up, to be perfectly honest with you, because I just don't believe it. I'm sure he's done his research on that, but I'm far from convinced by this. I'm far from convinced.
Yeah. Anyway, anything you'd like to add before we wrap it up? I'm conscious 25 minutes. I don't want to turn this into an hour long bashing.
No, not really. Not really. I'll be honest with you, Gio. I think I'm outed now. I'm going to go away. I'm going to try and think of something. I'm going to try and look at something ridiculous and and start making jokes about it and make a ridiculous video at some point about it. So because I think it's actually become comedy now. So I think it's fair game, really. But it is a massive shame. It really is, because I feel actually I do feel a bit used, if you know what I mean. I do feel that they've used West Ham. I feel they've used the fan base to whip up a storm, to try and drive a price down, when I don't think they've got the best interests of the club at heart. I still don't think the fundamental question has been answered, which is this your money or are you borrowing the money? And as a couple of people said yesterday, not only are you borrowing money, because actually it's going to be invested money that comes from elsewhere, which means they want to return the investment. Actually, if that investment goes sour, where's the liability for that money? Is that PAI Capital's liability, or is the liability for that money on the club? Basically, are the club going to get saddled with the debt that purchases this, in the same way that Glazers did? In essence, Glazers borrowed 600 million against Manchester United to buy Manchester United, immediately saddling Manchester United with 600 million pounds worth of debt. If this is going to be done in the same way, then obviously people are not interested. It's the one question, not the one question, but it was the big question. It was a question they are answering. They've done numerous comments and got people to make comments for them, including the Ferdinand brothers and whatnot. Yet still, they haven't addressed that one issue to let us know how this takeover would be financed. Because I tell you what, if it was coming from somebody absolutely wealthy and absolutely rich, they'd just be turning around like the Spotify guy, whose name always escapes me. You know he's good for the money. He's worth 7 billion quid. You don't say, have you got the money? Well, actually, we don't know these people. We don't know these people so much that someone's had to write 5 pages to try and justify who he is and why we don't know him. We don't know him. And the other question I would love answered, which again you don't get this, is bearing in mind you're trying to do a takeover. Why have you appointed Philip Beard? Why would you not appoint somebody who has a competency and a track record of successful takeovers? What attracted you to this guy to be the figurehead for your consortium and to put it through, when his one track record of doing it appears to be failure and relegation at Queen's Park Rangers? And I feel that there are fundamental questions that are not been answered. But I've now lost the desire to have them answered, because I've made up my mind now, Geo, to be perfectly honest with you. And sorry, under says 25 minutes. I look at this statement and I think, where's your filter? All before I thought, where's your filter? Where's your PR guy? And I've gone so far away from having a PR department, and actually, because they're so badly advised, everything they've done is wrong. There's nobody there. There's no filter saying, don't do this, don't do this. That's a bad idea. Even just passing the statement to your missus and saying, hey, I'll have a read of that, darling, will you? And because I'm going to pop this out tomorrow. Not pop that out, obviously. I'll pop that out tonight. I'm going to put his statement out tomorrow. And just looking at it, saying, no, you look like a dick if you do that. Don't put that out. Anything as simple as that. Not incompetent, I would suggest, mate.
Yeah, I'm still trying not to make my mind up. I'm trying to remain impartial, wait for more information, because there is more information. This is chapter 3, and there's another 10, 15 chapters to go to even get remotely near conclusion. There's plenty more of this to come. After this video, I'm going to park it and look forward to Newcastle. We're doing the Newcastle preview later. I'm looking forward to doing that, getting my excitement up for the football. There's 2 weeks today till the Europa League group draws done. I'm looking forward to that. I've still got a transfer window to do, but the statement today, I was wanting to be convinced. I was hoping, please, can you just have something in this that gets me a bit excited, that convinces me? And I had nothing, quite the opposite. I had stuff in there that convinced me that this isn't really the lot that I fancy taking over West Ham. I find what they say is very vague. He wrote his own questions, and he was basically, what are you going to do for the transfer window? And he basically said, well, it depends, doesn't it? Okay, but the stuff like that is just not reassuring at all. And then he spoke about his own legal procedures in Azerbaijan. At the minute he spoke about that, and he said, oh yeah, it's ongoing, so let's not talk about it, let's move on. He basically said, let's just ignore that legal proceedings that's against me over in Azerbaijan, and we'll just talk about something else.
Well, don't Interpol want him. I as I heard, I don't know whether it's the truth or not, didn't Interpol want him, and the Russians are trying to get him extradited?
I don't know about the Russian side, but in Azerbaijan there's legal proceedings ongoing against him and his company, and that's why he moved to London. And he basically mentions it in the statement, and you might as well just wrote, I don't want to talk about it, let's just pretend it doesn't exist. but I feel like I need to address it to some extent because obviously people have brought it up, but I don't really want to address it. So I'm just going to move swiftly on, if you don't mind, and I'll pretend I've addressed it. It's like if you want to address your Star Wars T-shirt that you sometimes wear, it's basically going, you have a Star Wars T-shirt, let's just talk about something else, yeah? It's not really addressed it, have you?
Well, I like the fact he can't answer his own questions. What am I going to have for dinner tonight? Oh, I don't know. Excellent.
He's made a question, refused to answer, moved on. He could have just not wrote anything in his statement. He obviously feels he's got to mention it, obviously feels a bit of pressure, so he sort of half mentions it, doesn't really give an answer. But
this is the thing. Look at us. We're now taking a Mickey out of him. So he's not putting him. No, we are. That's what we've just done.
Oh, it's laugh or cry.
No, I know. But he's not. He's not putting himself.
Who do you want to babysit you? Kate and Jerry McCann or Joe Fritzl? Well, I don't want either of them babysit me, if I'm quite honest with you. I'd rather have a competent babysitter.
Absolutely. I'll stay on my own. I can reach the door latch. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm good.
I can wear my own T-shirt and have my own dinner. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to. I'm just going to move on to the next question. Thank you. Anyway, we'll leave it there.
Well, we'll have to. I'm going to save the mattresses for another day.
Well, there you go. You've enjoyed this video, which is talking about the statement by PAI Capital as they look to take over West Ham FC, not West Ham United. Please drop a like on it. Subscribe if you're around here. Myself and Gonzo. Gonzo will be doing a video on the Pro channel later. And we'll be back tonight on this channel with our preview of the Newcastle United game. Catch you in a bit.